Hi everyone, and welcome to our newest episode of the CATIA Systems Talks. My name is Honorata Frings, and today we will get an introduction to Magic Collaboration Studio and its main features that will assist your MBSE teams to work together in development of their models. My guest speaker today is Chris Klotz, CATIA MBSE Industry Solution Consultant. Welcome, Chris. Good to have
Hello,
you.
thank you for having me. So today we will be I'll be presenting Magic Collaboration Studio. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. I've been with CATIA Cyber Systems, CATIA Magic for now 8 years. My roles have been from software developer when I first started. I've been a senior support engineer for the support team. I then moved into training, and I did industry consulting and SysML training. And currently as stated, I'm a cyber systems industry process consultant. I am the lead for Teamwork Cloud deployments in the US, along with doing Teamwork Cloud migrations and teaching customers how to utilize all these wonderful features. So today, my presentation, I'm gonna have a short slide presentation, followed by a live demonstration in Magic Systems and Systems Modeling Tool, showing you how to utilize some of these features for those of you that haven't seen it before. So first off, what is Magic Collaboration Studio? Some of you might have heard the term Teamwork Cloud or Cameo Collaborator. Magic Collaboration Studio is just the combination of those two products bundled together. So during this presentation, if I accidentally say Teamwork Cloud instead of Magic Collaboration Studio, know they are one and the same because it is inside Magic Collaboration Studio. So Magic Collaboration Studio is a server product that your IT team would install on a server that you control. It could be a server in your data center. It could be in AWS or Azure or your favorite cloud service. It's really up to you. The name is just a server product that you install on a server that your users can reach. So what can we do with Magic Collaboration Studio or Teamwork Cloud? So what are those major features that are going to help your teams? First and foremost is collaborative modeling. We also have access control, model organization, model versioning, and model history. We can do branching and merging. We can do a reports analysis on the data that's in the database. And we can also exchange models outside of Teamwork Cloud. So collaborative modeling, what does that mean? So if you were using our desktop modeling tools such as Magic Systems or Systems, or if you know Cameo Enterprise Architecture, you know it under that name, collaborative modeling means if you were to build a model and you just stored it on your desktop, that doesn't really let you share it very well. You would have to email it or put it out on some public network drive that everyone can get to, and normally one person can only check it out at a time to make edits. Well, collaborative modeling within Magic Collaboration Studio means everyone on this call, if we all had access to the same project, would be able to get in there, edit a piece of the model, and then make a commit, which creates a new revision of the model. So we could all be working the same model at the same time. The only limitation is we can't work on the same exact elements at the same time. If you look at the screenshot here, you'll notice that I have locked a good chunk of the model here with my name. That means it's locked for me. Means the only other package currently not locked is the concept model package. And so someone else could log in and lock that package. Normally, the idea is each user would only lock what he or she needs to do those edits. So you would normally maybe just work on requirements. So you would just lock that one package. You can get down to individual elements. You don't have to lock an entire package. And I'm going to demonstrate this during our live demo. So how do you know which projects you have access to? Well, that is configured through a web-based GUI that Teamwork Cloud has, and each user is going to be given roles. An example would be resource contributor or resource reviewer. A resource contributor would have write access to a project that is assigned to that user. A resource reviewer would only have read capabilities. They wouldn't be able to edit a given project. So there's different roles that each user can be given to help control their access. We also support third-party authentication services such as LDAP, SAML, OAuth, and CAC cards. So we can control access using those login and authentication services. Resource organization. Resource organization is all about how you store your models. Even if you were just to put them on a SharePoint or on a network drive, you have to come up with some way to organize all that data. So you would create directories and subdirectories. Well, that's what we're talking here. Within Teamwork Cloud, we create categories. It's just like a directory. Inside that directory, you can nest other directories. This will become really useful also when we go to set access control, because we can set access at a given category. So instead of just giving you access to an individual project, I can select an entire category, which would give you everything within that category, every project. There are some different types of resources. There's models, Cameo Collaborator documents, and OSLC. We're going to mainly focus today just on the models. Model versioning. So if you were working locally and you were just working on your desktop instead of working with a model stored in Magic Collaboration Studio, every time you would save, you're just going to overwrite your file. With Magic Collaboration Studio, every time you make a commit back to Magic Collaboration Studio, you're creating a new revision of the project. This is going to give you complete history, and it's going to show you who made a change and when that change occurred. Every time a user makes a commit, the tool asks them to leave a comment. Now, the comments are optional, but you should stress to your users that they are never optional. You always must leave a comment, something that says what you did in the model. Okay. Branching. A branch is just a copy of the model, and you can build a branch for any number of reasons. Here I was getting ready for a conference. I didn't want to edit my trunk, which is my main branch. Instead, I created my own branch called Alternative Design for Conference in preparation, so I can go edit that branch in complete isolation. It doesn't change my trunk. Maybe I want to delete some data, reorganize things just for the conference, for my presentation. I can do that in my branch, and my trunk stays perfectly fine. Now, later on, if I like the changes I make, I can use the merge functionality to actually merge the changes from one branch to the other. Teamwork Cloud also has this idea of model composition. If you have a very large system that you're designing, you could create one giant project with all the data. But that means from an access control point, if you do that, you're granting everyone to access all the data in the entire project. Or you have to share the entire project if you're working with subcontractors or partners building the system. So it is very common for a model to be broken up in logical chunks. I'm going to use an example as a car. So you could design a car and you could put all the data in a single model, or you could have a separate project for the transmission and engine, a separate project for climate control, suspension, and then you would create one project that uses all of those, and we call that a project usage. And so you can link projects together to form a larger system. So this also enforces the idea of reusability. So if you have a standard set of parts that you use in various systems, you can define them once and then reuse them. Also, this is very helpful when designing profiles, or some people refer to them as libraries. Okay. I have some links that I'll share at the end, but for now, let's go ahead and jump into the tool and take a look at how some of these features work. So I've gone ahead and launched already Cameo Magic Systems Architect, and I've gone ahead and logged into Teamwork Cloud and already opened a model, but I want to show you the steps. So your users, when they're working within the modeling tool, and I think I need to move that up. There we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. So when you're working within the modeling tool, the first step is to log in. From the modeling tool, and it doesn't matter which modeling tool you're using of ours, it's always under the Collaborate menu. So underneath Collaborate, you're going to come in, you're going to click Login. You'll enter your user credentials. Again, these could be internal users, which are internal to Magic Collaboration Studio, or if your installers or server admins had configured your LDAP, you could use your LDAP password. If you use single sign-on, it can be configured for single sign-on. I'm just using an internal local user, so I'm just going to enter my username and password here. And then you connect, and it's going to log me into Teamwork Cloud Magic Collaboration Studio. Down here at the bottom left, right here in the status bar, it tells me I'm logged in and ready to go. Now I can open up any project that I've been given access to. To see the list of projects, I just go Open Server Project. This is going to connect to Teamwork Cloud, and any category or project you have access to will appear here in the list, and you can then open up any model. This is also where you can see the history of a project. So if I wanted to see, well, how many revisions of water distributions currently exist, I can click on the history button, and I can currently see that the latest revision number is in the trunk is version 48. This was created by me just a little while ago. So you can see the complete version history. This is also where if I go back, I can create a new branch from this revision. At any time, you can create a branch even from a historical revision. But you can see each, and here's an example of a commit, and every commit should have a comment. Again, that should not be optional to your users. It should always be told that they must leave a comment. So you open up the project. Again, the idea is to lock now, if we were all working in this model simultaneously, if I want to work on these requirements, if I want to lock these elements, I could go find each one. I'm going to right click on this one requirement and say select and containment tree. I could go lock each and every element one at a time. So I just right click on the single element I've locked just the requirement transfer water. That would be a little slow and tedious, but since I'm working in a diagram, I can right click on the diagram and say lock diagram content, and this will go and lock every requirement, every relationship, and every element that's on this diagram has been located in the containment tree and locked for me. Again, a lock means that no one else can edit until I release my lock. So everyone else on the call could log in and work on any other portion of this model that you see in the containment tree. So initially, when your models are small, there are chances that somebody has something locked that you need. But as the models grow in size and complexity, the chances of you needing a lock that somebody else has decreases. So now that I've locked an element, I can change. So I'm going to change the name from transfer water 2.0, but just back to transfer water. I could change the any of the requirement text here. I can create new requirements at any time. Even without having a lock, you can always create new elements because no one else can edit that element until you commit it to Teamwork Cloud or Magic Collaboration Studio. So you can create new elements anytime. Once you finish your edits and you've made your edits you're done, now it's time for you to create your commit. So we're currently at version 48. You can see that right here at the top status bar. It tells you the branch that you are in along with the version number that you're currently in. So I'm going to hit collaborate, commit changes to server. Again, that collaborate menu is really your user's interaction with the server, with Magic Collaboration Studio, aka Teamwork Cloud. I'm going to leave my comment. Edited a requirement, demoing locks. I can choose to keep my lock. So if I know if maybe I just want to save and then make the commit and then keep working on these same elements or same diagram, I can keep my locks. The tool will remember your choice here. I'm going to go ahead and release my locks. There's also an option to leave what are called tags. Tags are normally used to mark the status. If you have a different methodology, such as Agile, and you're doing sprints, or maybe you're doing SSR for system requirement reviews and PDR, if you hit one of those milestones in your project, you can add a tag. And let's say I'm doing system requirement review, SSR, I can create a tag. There's also one here, you can create a major. So if it's like it's a major release, you can add as many tags, and you can define these to mean whatever is significant to your team. So that it's very customizable. but you can add as many tags as you want, and then you hit commit. This is going to save the changes back to Teamwork Cloud. And if you were all logged into this model, you would get a notification that, hey, there's a new revision in the trunk. Do you want to update now or do you want to update later? It would notify you and give you the option. So our latest revision is now version 49. And this, again, would propagate everyone would be in there creating commits. So at the end of the day, if there's 20 of us in the model, there could be 20 revisions in a single day. So that is the main way for the collaborative modeling to work. Let's talk about some of the other features, such as access control. So access control is actually done through a web interface. So Teamwork Cloud and Magic Collaboration Studio have this nice web interface. You're going to log in. The admins will give you your server address for your server. And here's where we can see all the different things we can do from an administrative standpoint. We have resources, which is all our project data, our users, our roles. So before we go to users and access control, let's just look at the roles. The roles are what level of permission does a user have? The most common one will be resource contributor. A resource contributor means the user has write access to a given project. Resource creator just means that's another very common one. It's going to allow your users to create projects and add them to Teamwork Cloud or Magic Collaboration Studio. Resource reviewer, where's reviewer? Read only. So if you have some stakeholders that you want to share the model, but they are not modelers at this point in time, you can give them resource reviewer. They can open up the model using the modeling tool and go and inspect it, but they can't edit anything. So those are probably the most common. The other ones like security, these are server admin roles. User manager creates all the new users and syncs with your LDAP or SAML if you're using external. We have a new plugin with 22x that came out called data markings. That's another option now that you can utilize to add a second layer of security. So not only do your user have to have the right roles, they also have to have the right clearance or data marking level to be able to open a project. It's just an extra safeguard. So we have our roles, and then we have our users. Each user, we have internal users, which are users that are inside Teamwork Cloud. They're not imported from any external source like LDAP or SAML accounts. Those would be external accounts. Currently, I'm not linked to any external services, so I don't have any external users. All mine are internal. Here's my user account. Let's take a look at the roles I currently have. So here's all the roles. Since I'm one of the admins, I have a lot of the roles, but let's just concentrate on resource contributor. Now remember, contributor means you have write access to a project. You have two types of scopes. You have custom and global. Global is something very few people will have in your team because it means you have access to every project in the database, not just a specific set or category. So most of the time, you're going to have a custom scope. Custom scope lets you come in and select individual projects. So I'm going to uncheck that category. I can select one project from multiple categories. Or I can give myself category level access. Again, this is why you want to, when you're designing your categories, you kind of want to take access control into account. How do you want to organize this data to make it a little bit easier to administer? Because if you have hundreds of users, you don't want to have to come in here for hundreds of users and select individual projects. Whereas if you select an entire category, now I get access to the entire category. And if a new project is added to that category, I automatically get access. You don't have to come back and reset it. And so category permissions are really a nice feature, makes your administration much easier. So since I'm working on the water distribution system, I wanted to make sure I still had resource contributor, which I do. And so once you've selected the categories or individual projects or resources, you then will save that change. And that will then save my changes to my roles. You can set roles at any time. The user manager is the person that can set the roles for a given user. Again, that's a separate role to be able to do that. So you'll have your users. Each user will get a set of roles set to a specific scope, meaning a set of projects. Okay, so we've talked about roles, we've talked about users, resources. Resources I kind of touched on when I was looking at some of the other data here. Again, they look like folders or directories in Windows or on your Mac. Same concept. You're going to organize your categories, and underneath each category, you can have as many layers of nesting of those categories as you want. Again, take into account access control and what's logical for your team and the data that you have to store. So if you have 5 major customers, you might have 5 major categories, and then under those customers, you might have each individual program. And because you would have different teams working on different programs, it'll make it easier to administer access control. Reports. For those of you that have to run audit reports or security scans and give reports to your security officers, we have audit reports for a list of all actions done by users, failed login attempts, so you can see how many people are trying to get in but they can't. Resource access, who's accessed that project, so you can create and a lot of this will export to Excel. And so we have all these default reports. You can create custom reports using what we call the REST API to pull specific data out of the server directly out of the database. The REST API is easily accessible just by changing the URL to the correct port where we have the REST API. So I'm just going to create a copy here so I can leave that open. The REST API is a feature that lets, again, if you want to develop your own scripts to go out and retrieve information, there's administration of the server, there's project details. All of the reports that you saw on the previous page are using the REST API to pull that data out of the database for you. So we basically pre-built these reports using the REST API. But there's nothing holding you back from building your own custom reports using the same REST API. And resource usage map, this is the last feature I was hoping to share with you today. The resource usage map allows you to inspect the project structure. Remember I showed you can link projects together? So I'm going to look at the Magic Grid and use all of those projects and select those. So this is showing you the project usage of the Magic Grid. All of these are individual projects in the database, and these are all the usages that are currently being used. Now, I purposely configured a bad usage. We're getting a warning here. This is what we call a circular usage, which is not something you actually want. And we tell you about them so you can inspect your project structure using the project usage map. Very useful feature for your project team and team leads to understand the project structure if they're linking a bunch of smaller projects together. It's very important to know these things. So this concludes my demonstration for today. I'm going to be opening it up for questions. And do we have any questions today?
Indeed, we have. We have a very curious user. So Francesco asked, is it possible to see the branches also in the web browser or only from projects menu in Cameo?
So there is, I don't know if I have let's go see, let's go check. So yes, when you say see it, you can see only when we're assigning access, because there is a feature called branch level access that we can use. So it's very limited. You can't see all the branches. Let me show you. So I'm going to go to users. I'm going to go back to my user account. So I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I'm going to change roles. And water distribution system has multiple branches, so I'm going to come down here. So here, by clicking on this little branch symbol, when you're assigning usages, I can assign write access or read-only access per branch, but this is the only way in the web browser to see the listing of branches is under the assignment of roles. So if I only wanted read access to a specific branch, there's not a GUI that shows a nice graphic, unfortunately. This is the closest we have.
Okay, I hope this answers your question, Francesco. Francesco has another one, which is major tag can be removed since it would be useful for baseline. Is there a way to avoid that someone accidentally remove a major tag?
No, yeah, I believe the tags are permanent unless in the modeling tool, if we go and look at the project history, you can add a tag. I don't think we can remove it once the commit's been made. We'll double check that. I've never tried, actually. Let's look at the history. Oh, we can't edit. Okay. Oh, we can edit and delete. Nope. I can change it, but I can't delete it. Well, maybe I can. I take that back. We can remove it. So we can remove it. So you want to be able to stop people from removing it. So this is controlled. This would not be something a normal contributor can do. I am currently logged in. I am also a resource manager. A resource manager could do this. A resource contributor would not be able to, because this is a global property of a project. So that's the only way you could control that. So you would only give certain individuals resource manager. Maybe you have the project lead and the senior engineer would be resource managers. Everyone else would be contributors.
Very good. Let's move to Francesco's third question, which is in resource usage map, can I see the dependencies between the projects, also with the version numbers?
Excellent question. So let's again go to Magic Grid. I choose Magic Grid because I know it has a lot of project usages. And it's a sample model that you all have in the tool. And so once you click on a project, you get the version number that's used. And you get this little dialog here on the right-hand side also that tells you the version of each of those usages. So you just have to, maybe I didn't click earlier on a given node in the usage. You can also do it the opposite way. So if you build a library of common systems, you can say find all usages. So I'm going to pick the cooling system. And it now searches and it says how many other projects are using this. So if you build a standard profile or requirements library that is common for multiple programs or projects, you can find out how many projects are using and which projects are using it. So this is also a great thing to be able to do. Right now, it's not being used by very many only the one other project. So not a lot of information there, but that's a very useful feature. Did that answer your question, Francisco, I hope?
I hope so. Otherwise, I would like to invite you to join us in our community. So if you see that you have any questions after this broadcast is over, you can just simply go to our community. You see the link below in the banner. And there Chris will answer all your remaining questions. So Francesco says, thanks a lot. So you answered all his questions.
Wonderful.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Chris, for this presentation. That was great. It will remain in the 3DX, in the CATIA MBSE Cyber Systems community. The link is below, as I said. And next week, we will talk about server-side simulation in CATIA Magic. So if you have nothing to do and some time, some spare time, join us next week, same time here in the next CATIA Systems Talk. Thanks a lot, Chris, and I wish you all a pleasant afternoon, morning, and evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.